games. Like, because of the resubmission, the lineups ended up very, very similar. But I was honestly wondering if people would try leaving up the Malfurion, Anduin, Mukla deck just once, because I feel like, honestly, the Nature Samuro deck is on the same power level as that versus the rest of the lineup. I think Nature is favored across the board, only slightly in some matchups, whereas the Anduin deck has a heavy favorable versus Shadow Samuro. So that's probably the reason for getting rid of it. Shadow Samuro can still beat Nature when played correctly most of the time.
Didn't you leave it up in one of your matches and won?
We did, yeah. We left it up versus the first and second series of China. I honestly think we could have beaten it again in the second series if I didn't throw like a mad woman, because I believe the Nature comp is very favored against that deck, because you have the Brukan for scaling in the opener. You can open without Samuro and have the Samuro come in later to finish on Anduin. It's just that, I'm very weak to fatigue. A lot of these players are very seasoned competitors, and I respect them so much for being able to power through, especially with more disconnect issues and weirder time zones than me. But anyway, we start off with the Shadow Sam Mirror. We see the standard opener for both Natalie on Vol'jin. Vol'jin slow Natalie. Samuro kill Vol'jin. Both Natalie slowed for the next turn. Both players board in Karin for P4 most of the time. But we saw Valera go for Diablo last time. Didn't work out though, so here we go.
It just goes back. Okay. And one thing to quickly note before we jump back in is we did get word that there's a lot riding on this match between Europe and China. The winner of this match in particular will take the #1 seed overall in the standings, which does equate to essentially a bye as we move to the playoffs, right? The second and third place have to play against each other for the right to actually make it through.
And if you guys didn't catch the standings, currently Americas are at 9 points, EU and CN both at 9 points. Whoever wins this goes up to 10, and APAC ended in 8 points. So overall, this tournament was extremely tight across all of the formats. And you know what? If I threw one less game, TJ, I could be playing tomorrow, but I'll hold that out. Let's just focus on what's in front of us right now. Again, both Natalie's slowed, and the very important thing about this is that if Natalie is not slowed, you are able to snipe the first half of Karin just by going Natalie first ability plus Samuro double strike. That's 32 plus 51. It's 83, and Karin is at 82 without Cookie. So very crucial that you slow Natalie if you are going to snipe Vol'jin on the first turn. So both players go for the stomp, knowing that their Karens are guaranteed to live that previous turn. And now we have a very big 50-50.
Oh yeah. Doesn't happen often. When it does, it's a big deal. And Lear already an advantage just in health on the Samuro. It's the only difference. Is there anything creative to be done here to maybe break that 50-50? Like any deviations, anything to be done?
Yeah, you can not attempt the 50-50. For example, you can just let your Karen sit there and save the Endurance Aura for the next turn and be guaranteed to move next turn. And then you can try and win that speed tie by just going Mirror Image, for example, to try and beat their Endurance Aura. But problem with that Mirror is that it's not really killing the opposing Samuro. That's usually the reason you might go for Mirror if you're not going Aura. But that's not quite going to be enough here. So it looks like Valera is just going to go for the Aura here, uses the Mirror on the Natalie. And Benediction, pretty standard play. You go for the Benediction in order to kind of recoup the damage that you're accepting will happen to your Karen, because you've given it taunt, you're making it eat the Samuro damage. But yeah, that's pretty big. Not one Natalie gone and the other very alive. Thais in a pretty bad position. But if he is able to be the first one to get Karen Diablo on board together, usually a big deal, but the problem is he used his speed momentum last turn, so he can't immediately get the big combo this turn.
And
Are you saying something, TJ? I can't hear you.
sorry, chair. I'm a mess right
Oh,
now.
okay.
My headset fell off.
Oh no.
All right, I'm back. Did you say anything?
Yeah, mostly that Tice is pretty behind because he's down on Natalie, and it wasn't a particularly good spot to board in Diablo, I don't think. So instead, he's actually gone for an early Rag here, which does have pretty good capability of sniping, not sniping, but dealing critical damage to the Samuro. And I wonder if Valera ever considered that to be boarded in because he could have positioned differently to make Meteor a bit less of a punish. I made the same mistake also yesterday and didn't get punished for it. So I'm not gonna blame him for that. It's easy to forget.
Yeah, putting the Samuro in the middle so you get the double damage and the splash.
Yes.
Because you're going to be
And
targeting the Samuro all the time anyway with the Meteor.
Oh, but maybe he did that for the bait.
Oh,
And he went for the
the
immune
mind
on the
games.
Samuro. Genius. Okay, so based on my testing of interactions, I can't speak with full authority because there's a lot of weird and sometimes inconsistent interactions with Mercs. If you play a targeted ability on something that gets immune for that turn, or it already had immune, you target it at the beginning of the turn, but it's immune now, that ability will move to a random other target. The exception is with King Crush. It's like a semi-targeted ability. Its first skill, it goes after the lowest health Merc on the other side. If that lowest health Merc has immune, it will still attack it from my testing.
Huh.
It's like you don't target it itself, but you can kind of predict where it goes. Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Well, anyway, Thais, terrible position. He just used the Meteor. Valera out mind gamed him like a champ. I honestly did not even see that coming. It was so smart. I thought the positioning was a mistake. I should have known better.
Yeah, that was probably like, haha, look at this guy. Positioning his Samuro in the middle.
Both players slowed by the stomp, and so, well, there is another endurance. Oh, sorry, it's not a tie because the Karen first half died from ties, right? So his aura will always go first if he wants it to. Question is, can he leverage that in a good enough way? Very important to note that there's 2 breakpoints on this board from Valera, right? Samuro at 45. Die Insects deals 44 to Samuro. However, it deals 22 to the Karen, which the Karen is absolutely at right now. So maybe there's a way Tice can make this work. If he sends the Samuro at Diablo, I still don't think that gets it into a Die Insects breakpoint, so it's a bit unfortunate that he doesn't have the Samuro AoE himself, because I feel like it would be pretty good with this turn with the Die Insect. He's just gonna send it at Samuro though, and we'll see where the Die Insects goes. There are 3 viable targets right now for it to keep chaining. That's the most useless one, but... Oh no! Unlucky.
Yeah. I mean, the mirror image at first was fine because it's just a reset, basically. Just doesn't matter. But hitting the absolute worst target for the second one, not good. Not good.
Well, there's still Samuro for Valera, so I feel like he should always win this one. But there's no way to trigger double strike on Samuro, so you probably just go for the AoE, have that be immune again so it doesn't get killed by Rag. If you have immune and Die Insects goes on it, the Die Insect just stops. Kind of a big deal. And the Earth Stomp is actually faster than everything except Rag's first ability, which is only 10 damage on Karen. Pretty useless. So it's a very safe stomp from Valera. And he's just going Fire Stomp as well this turn. Because there's the possibility that his Diablo dies this turn to Tice going Apocalypse plus properly targeting the Die Insect. By properly, I mean praying to Rag.
Yeah.
Goes for the slow. Wah,
It's the
wah,
immune. Oh,
dude.
Yeah, that is pretty brutal. And that'll be concede there. So Valera takes the game 1 mirror to start things off. And that's exact. Is that how it opened in the last series as well, right? That was the exact same opening, exact same outcome with China winning?
I would say the first 3 turns were very standard. After that, things started to get a bit janky, right? First of all, the Natalie healing on both sides. Usually one person ends up going for a Natalie damage in a certain spot to try and finish off a Karen, but there's a mind game you can do where you try to get the healing instead, because if you win the speed tie, your healing goes off before their damage. And there was also the big speed tie, which determined whether Tice's Natalie lived at the beginning of that turn. And it did not live. So he boarded in an early Rag, which caused Valera to kind of get a bit creative, right? How can he beat Rag with no blues left? And he did that by essentially wasting the Meteor on the immune Samuro, which is such a cool play. I've not done that myself, and I really want to try it now. Winning mind games like that must feel so satisfying. And Meteor is 2 cooldown, right? So if they play that, your Diablo is pretty safe for at least 2 more turns, and by then you can probably safely kill the Rag. Very nicely done.
Yep. Well, getting a look at Blade Master Samuro here. I feel like this is the 3rd time we've gotten a chance to look at him. Is in the maximum number of comps in every team's
Correct.
lineup, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Samuro is S tier. There's no question about it.
Yeah. And standard equipment, you talked about the Burning Blade at length earlier. Couple comps have been running the Sash, the third equipment slot, but it's been pretty rare.
Yeah, the Sash is run in everybody's non-Karen Diablo lineup, which is the Mamsi, Malfurion, Anduin, Mukla Cookie deck, which has Sylvanas Samuro as the 2 greens to fulfill the 2/2/2 color spread. That deck runs Sash Samuro so that you can buff Sylvanas more by virtue of those 2 copies going in your dead Merc pool, each of them giving Sylvanas 5 more attack. And there she is! From the Reclaimed Souls ability, 5 attack for each friendly character that died this game. And in that comp, you generally expect your Malfurion, Mukla's big brother, 2 Samuro images, at least, to be dead by the time Sylvanas comes on board. Plus 25 attack, that's 35. That can kill her. And now we see the Mukla as well. Man, we're talking about this very cool comp, but it's just been banned all around. I'm sad. I wanted to see that deck get played more. It's so sick, but I have to admit, not playing that mirror is probably saving a lot of people time because it's so slow at the beginning and then it probably ends in a draw at the end with the Sylvanas.
Yeah. Mukla was
Mukla.
not a Merc that I expected that much coming in. I think you said the same thing, right? That at least up until a certain point, a lot of players, I think, didn't realize that you could have like the Anduin Mukla synergy and it actually makes sense.
Yeah. Actually, the thing that made the comp work is Cookie, in my opinion. Even before the new Mercs were released, I've seen people running like Velen, Anduin, Mukla, because Velen, Anduin also have some pretty powerful synergy, very high healing, which gets ginormous Anduins, and you're essentially just running the Mukla to protect Anduin from Samuro. But the problem with that is, if it's specifically the Shadow Samuro comp, they can still kill Anduin on turn 1 through a taunt if your Natalie has the no cooldown Anathema weapon. because that allows you to just power through the taunt and still double strike the Anduin. So that comp fell off pretty quickly. It might come back because that comp can run Cookie again, and I do think that version is favored versus the Malfurion version, because the Velen represents scaling holy damage, whereas Malfurion doesn't really scale its damage. But for the purposes of this tournament, it was not brought because you would have to run 3 blues in that composition, and that kind of wrecks the 2-2-2 deck building principle that APAC, EU, and Americas went for in order to hide information. Anyway, here we go. Tice on the Nature comp versus the Diablo opener comp from CN. This is the deck that we did not have in common with them. The only deck that we did not have in common at the first submission, and was copied by Americas after resubmission and partially copied by EU. They replaced the Diablo weapon with the standard Black Soulstone though, and they replaced the Barongeddon with Cookie. So again, with this opener, if you are facing any speed boosting Samuro comp, so the Nature comp and the Shadow Sam, if they decide to play for a big 50-50 on the Shadow Sam side, then that is very, very game deciding in my opinion. The comp from Windfish, I don't think has any alternate openers that I'm aware of. It always does the same thing of Varden, slow everything by 2. You go Doom Charge with the Diablo on the Malfurion, and then you just Karen attack because it can. It deals some damage to the Samuro, right? And that would mean that all but 2 Mercs are slower than Endurance Aura on the next turn on Tice's side. And because of that, Tice will get the big Fire Stomp combo happening to him. Not necessarily as game-ending as it is versus Shadow Samuro, because you only run 1 blue as Nature in the opener, whereas Shadow Samuro has 2 Mercs taking that critical damage. But I still think you would be wise to prevent that. So that would mean usually targeting Diablo, but Tice is going for Varden, which he actually did in the first series as well, but he doesn't end up killing the Varden this time, unless he goes Lightning Bolt on it. Okay. Alright, so last series Tice went for the Muddy Footing. And still goes for the turn 1 Varden kill. You're back, TJ?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you at all for... I thought you disconnected or something.
Nope, I'm just... It's absorbing.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm just talking too much. I'm so sorry.
No. I mean, it's good. You have a lot more to say than I do. I was going to say that Tice looked a little bit upset. I think that's because the Brucon ended up being the Merc that got frozen from the Varden Death Rattle, which is one of the biggest damage dealers, especially going into that next turn.
Yeah, that's the worst outcome for Tice, because the Brucon is the one thing that can try and speed tie Endurance Aura this turn, theoretically, right? Because Varden slowed everything by 2, so Samuro's fastest move right now is at 5. Malfurion also got Doom Charge, so its fastest ability is at 11, it looks like. Big yikes. Brucon should have been able to move at 3 speed here if Tice had gotten the Cenarian ward off. Sometimes the deck tracker is not super reliable with the speeds on the graphics, so don't necessarily believe that. After the speed augmentations, it's not always consistent. And because of that, there's no way for Tice to get under Endurance Aura this turn, and Windfish has the guaranteed Fire Stomp for 24 damage AoE, 48 on Brucon.
Yeah.
Doesn't actually kill Malf, so I think it is wise for Windfish to just finish that off with the aim shot this turn. Oh, he went Stomp, he didn't go Aura. Interesting.
Okay.
Still finishes off the Malf though, because Tavish is not damaged at all. They're running the additional damage on aim shot weapon on Tavish. It's not the standard rigged wiring, which allows you to stack traps.
Indicated by the health. And because I'm looking at it also right now on the technical sheet, but since you can't, or not you specifically, but you as in whoever else is watching, indicated by the health for the equipment there.
Yeah, if you're running the rigged wiring, Tavish goes up to like 93, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with Cookie, it goes up to 102.
That's such a clean number.
Mm-hmm. One more than a Dalmatian, I guess.
Wait, wasn't there a movie 100? There was no sequel called 102 Dalmatians?
Was there? Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, there was a sequel and it came out in 2000. It was live action. 102 Dalmatians. So works out.
Alright, so Windfish here going for the big stomp combo, but because Tice boarded in a Cairn here, he has the chance to win this speed tie on the Endurance Aura and potentially get the Chain Lightning off with Brukan before Windfish's Endurance Aura can move. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch how much spell damage is on the Brukan. I think it's just the +3, which puts Chain Lightning at 19 right now. And if you target it at the middle minion, it will always hit the middle minion twice. It's a 50-50 of like hitting, sorry, it's like 1 in 3, you hit the left minion for the other 2 times, 1 in 3 the right minion for the other 2 times, and 1 in 3 that you hit one of each of the left and right minions. But all that not super relevant because Tice didn't even go for the speed tie here. He just went for the Earth Stomp, which means he's trying to set up for his own Fire Stomp. And while it is going to be powerful enough to kill Diablo in combination with the Cookie, adding an additional minion, so you got 30 AoE across the board, it's not dealing that much to Windfish's Cairn and Tavish. And Windfish still has 2 mercs on the bench, so it's a close one, even though Tice is just on his last 3 mercs. Once again, the fish outcomes could be very big here. The healing fish doesn't look particularly useful because Tice's minions will not be taking mercs will not be taking very much damage until after the fish dies. But the +5, +10 fish could be pretty big. Death Rattle fish, I don't know if that gives him big breakpoints for the next turn, but it will mean that the Cairn and Tavish take a total of 45 instead of just 30.
But then that combination can only do it that once, and then Windfish is going to be able to.
Oh, the heal fish. That's the bad one, right? It only heals Cairn? I don't know.
Yeah, because everything was fresh.
And Windfish now has his Baron Geddon and Ragnaros as options here. I do like the Rag board, and the Diablo is definitely a bigger threat in here. And Geddon doesn't get that sweet critical damage on the Diablo, so just probably play the Geddon to snipe off Cairn at the end. So for Tice here, goal number 1 is, can I kill Rag before it goes Meteor? Answer is no. So how does he deal with, or how does he cope with the Meteor, right? Like the Diablo's gonna take 50 from that. Tavish maybe deals 25 to it as well. Not quite dead to just that, but the Endurance Aura will make sure that a lot of this can move before Tice take this turn. Because the Diablo's not dead this turn, maybe Tice can just take a turn to set up for another Fire Stomp. Like his Cairn will definitely survive this turn, so he can go for a pretty safe Earth Stomp. And if he wants, he can also set up Cookie on the Cairn to get a Cookie snipe the next turn. It's not necessarily better than summoning a fish. So I really think the Cookie is the question mark here. I'm not sure what that's supposed to do, but I think for Tice, it's definitely Earth Stomp and Apocalypse for his 2 left merc.
Yeah. Try and get that set up. All right.
Ooh, he snipes the cookie.
Oh,
All right.
that's big damage from the meteor as well. And just as you expected.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually, if he expected the snipe to go on Cookie, I honestly thought it would go on Diablo, but that's very smart from Windfish. Just get rid of the Cookie before it threatens anything the next turn. Then Heist could have gone for the 2 speed to deal, I guess, a little bit more damage to the Rag before Cookie died without doing anything.
Yeah.
Not sure if that makes a big difference though, because even if Rag were at 35 instead of 55 here, the Earth Stomp doesn't kill it. And that looks like a lock for Windfish. Easy lap. Not an easy game. This is a very, very difficult game, but it's so interesting to me that there can be so many panouts at the end game. Like, if you have 3 mercs to 1, it doesn't even look like it was close, but that mirror can sometimes end up 1-1. Sometimes it ends up with 3 mercs left on the other side. And I'm just really curious if Tice has done testing with usually targeting Barden on turn 1, because it's the turn 1 target that really kind of directs the entire flow of the game when you play against that specific opener with the Diablo. If you target Varden, there probably is a good outcome 2 out of 3 times, right? Because it ended up freezing the 1 minion that was fast for Tice that turn, and that really punished. Not punished because like he got unlucky there, but
well,
it
you're
worked
putting it
out
up a
badly
chance
for Tice
by
here.
targeting
Yeah.
Varden in the first place, right?
Fair, you could say that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to cover his tracks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, China 2-0 lead in the series. Going a little bit different than we saw in the first one, but Europe was able to get that a come from behind victory. I think it was down from a 2-1 deficit instead of an 0-2 deficit, but still definitely possible. And I know that the players from these regions that are playing in the other formats are probably watching along closely here. One, so they know their schedule for tomorrow if they actually have to play in the second, third place match. But 2, because they want to be first seed, because whoever wins this match does get that first seed. So.
Oh, that's true. It's only
mostly
Americas that can sleep soundly right now because they know that they will be playing second, third tomorrow. This match is effectively deciding whether it's China who go to first seed tomorrow or Europe. Which, you know, if it's the China team, that would be some incredibly impressive stuff. They were at 6 points at the beginning of the day. They needed to rally big time to end up at at first with a full 10 points. And it's looking very possible with this first victory in our best of 5. Nice that we get to see Baron Geddon here. For anyone watching who is kind of new to Mercs and doing the grind on PvE, I highly recommend using Baron Geddon and Antonidas together, because that will farm a lot of the early maps. If you need coins / trying to find Mysterious Stranger to get enough tasks, that comp can safely be done while watching a series on the side or watching your favorite streamer on the side.
Or grinding a separate secondary Mercenaries account on the side.
Oh my god. Even I don't have the patience for that.
Hey, you just were naming popular pastimes, and I just decided to throw one in there.
Popular? There's like 10 people maybe who have fully maxed Merc in the world.
Well, okay, so it's popular. That doesn't mean loved. Maybe it does.
Understand.
Okay. Infamous? I don't know. I don't know the word for something that's done often, but not always loved to be done. Who knows?
Tedious? I don't know.
My brain is not functioning properly. Here we go. Last comp.
Understandable.
For China is going to be that nature comp. Rukon, Malfurion, Cookie.
And I think that puts China in a very, very good spot. I honestly think that this is the strongest deck in the comp when you're lined up against the mirror, and it's basically a mirror here, right? 1 merc off.
Yeah.
Why I think that is that Malfurion in the opener can survive against that Diablo opener comp, right? Because he is not a blue, he won't take that much damage from the Firestorm. And because Malfurion survives that combo, it can then keep scaling, right? It just heals all that damage back up as long as you have nature spells. And the speed manipulation is probably one of the most powerful mechanics in Mercs right now. It's definitely dictating the meta. I think it's got a solid chance versus Shadow Samuro ever since the addition of Cookie. I think it's favored versus the Mukla Anduin comp, even though I did not prove that during my game. Sorry, misplayed. But in our testing, it did win more times than it lost by quite a significant margin.
All right.
And here we have Cookie again. Actually, we've seen Cookie. I know you love him. I love him too. But can we bring up Guff here, even though Guff is not in anyone's comp? Because Cookie largely replaced Guff from the original nature comp. Oh, we don't have it? Unfortunate. Too bad. But anyway, Guff Rune Totem is like another nature hero that can deal crazy DPS as long as you can trigger nature combos. The problem with that is after your Brukan and your Malfurion are slowed or neutralized, Guff becomes really, really bad. Like, if you bring him off the bench, he's dealing so little damage. The taunt ability is not particularly great on blue heroes most of the time. And the Runic Slam is very hard to get off. Like, it's 10 damage, same as Cookie, but it's 7 speed. It's so unreliable to get snipes with that. So Cookie came in and kind of increased the strength of your opener, right? And simultaneously became a better off-the-bench Merc. And I think that's what made the Nature Samuro comp become S tier. Funnily though, the Guff version is probably more favored against the Anduin version. And
Maybe
the Anduin
see,
deck.
see some more play soon then.
Maybe, maybe.
Yep.
Alright. Andre's coming in with the Diablo Cairn Varden opener. It's a bit of a shakeup from what he went for with this deck last time, which had the Tavish in place of Diablo here. But I would say that what Hunter's has gone for is considered the standard opener with this deck. It's not exactly the same as what China are running because they have the health weapon on Diablo rather than the plus attack and additional slow weapon. And they have Cookie instead of Baron Geddon. But it doesn't change the fact that you are still able to set up a big Fire Stomp combo by going Varden, Doom Charge on Malfurion, and Cairn attack into Samuro just because it can, most likely. And depending on whether Valera decides to full send into Diablo, we could have a very big 50-50 on our hands. The max damage he can actually deal to Diablo here is 20 from Malfurion, plus 33 from Samuro, plus 10 from Brukan, which is 63. Yeah. Not enough for the kill. But enough to put Diablo in snipe range of the Lightning Bolt, the Muddy Footing, and the Cenarian Surge from Malfurion. And that's a very big deal that the Lightning Bolt was used on turn 1 rather than the Muddy Footing, because you need that scaling to make sure that the 3-speed move can actually target Diablo.
Yeah. So nice little setup there.
So what Valera's gone for here is... I honestly don't know how speed ties work in Mercs. For example, if like you play 2-3 speed and your opponent plays 1-3 speed, is it 50-50 for you to go first because you specifically ordered them in a way? So all like if one of yours is going first, it's guaranteed which one it is? Or is it 1 in 3 that they go first? I honestly am unsure.
Well, good luck testing it.
I
don't. You need like 1,000 sample size to determine it.
I mean, but what Valera went for was like the greediest order, right? He went for Brukan first and then Malfurion. But it looks like Hunter-Ace didn't even go for endurance. Oh, sorry. Yeah. My mistake. The Brucon ability slows the Cairn, so that's fine.
Yeah.
If the Brucon goes off, Malfurion is always just gonna kill the Diablo. That's my bad. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Well,
He says not
because
looking
I mean Valera won the speed tie there.
happy. Yeah.
To be fair, he had 2 3-speed attacks and Hunter-Ace only had 1. So in this case, Hunter-Ace can go for bottom right. I don't know, all of these mercs look so bad to bench in versus the nature comp, which is like barely scratched, right? These are all gonna go back to full health because Malfurion's gonna keep healing everything back up.
Not a good situation.
The Tavish is at least decent damage on Brucon, either 32 from Explosive Trap or the aim shot, or I guess 40 best case in this version without the aim shot damage weapon. And Valera has the option if he wants to like trigger an explosive trap if he expects it this turn and then immediately heal all that back up using the Archdruid's Call. Something tells me that's unnecessary. I think Malfurion's other abilities will, you know, also heal for 6, which is just a fraction of 24, but you don't need the full 24 here in my opinion. And just having that continuous speed up every turn is very powerful to kind of like counterbalance the slow that Hunter-Ace gets with the Varden play. Going for Chain Lightning here, which is +3 spell damage at the moment, so dealing increments of 19. The Cairn in the middle is good placement for Hunter-Ace. Even though it takes critical damage from Chain Lightning, it's already so unhealthy that you kind of like wanted to eat more from the Chain Lightning. But Valera did actually get rid of the first half here, so it ends up being a guaranteed kill on second half Cairn as well. Explosive, once again, just didn't do that much, I don't think. I mean...
Healed back up by the Malfurion essentially instantly, and now Hunter-Ace pretty much back to square one because this is almost the exact look of the board on the previous turn. He's just now a merc down.
Yep. Yeah, I guess the healing line is also safe from Valera here, right? Because what I was saying is maybe the Malfurion speed every single turn, play the first skill so you can try and go toe-to-toe with Varden. That might still be fine because even if he had like 24 less health on all his mercs, he's super ahead still. But the slow doesn't matter that much, right? What is Hunter-Ace gonna do to punish him? Ice Lance? That's not a big deal. Nothing's within range of Cold Snap as well from the Varden. We saw Hunter-Ace go for Cold Snap on turn 1 and it would have been insane if he won the speed tie. But again, the Muddy Footing went before the Endurance Aura, so the Aura went off at the end of the turn. Diablo died, Cold Snap killed nothing, and it all just snowballed into a disaster.
Disaster where it doesn't really look like there's a reasonable way out.
Nope, I don't see it. There's not even like a good trap that Hunter-Ace can set this turn because he just went explosive last turn. So maybe you can try to get aimed shot to deal critical damage on Brucon, but I think we saw Valera sending most of these things at Tavish. And he can get the kill with Samuro double strike. Oh, he's gone actually for the Whirling Blades on Samuro. So he's trying to do the thing again where he plays around Meteor by baiting the Meteor by putting the green Merc in the middle, but he'll give the green Merc immune, and it just absorbs the most damage.
Yep. Seen him employ the strategy a couple times.
Bolt Rag. So much damage. Everything is scaling and nothing is dying because of Malfurion. It's crazy what Brucon and Malf can do together. And the whole comp kind of falls apart if Malfurion dies on turn 1. Very similar to the Shadow Sam comp. I mean, sorry, not the whole comp. The opener falls apart if one of your speed booster / sustain mercs falls apart, but then you bring in the Karen Diablo bench and you're like, all right, deal with this now. But Andres can't even deal with the first half of it. It's a disaster.
It was actually a die insects on Andres that turn.
Yeah, I think it's because he kind of expected the immune to happen. He saw it during the Tice game, most likely. So he wasn't going to go for Meteor that turn, and Die Insects is just the highest DPS. Doesn't win in the game, but he's trying.
Yeah. At least that maybe gives him an opening this turn, but I mean, it's not really one. Still so far behind.
Man, and Valera here almost like playing with his food, honestly. You can see he's gone for skill 3 on Malfurion again. I think he's just trying to get every merc back to full health again, and because he's proccing the explosive trap this turn, it looks like. Yeah, okay. Makes sense that Brukan is a little bit vulnerable, but Hunter Ace actually goes for the Ice Lands here. I really did not expect that, but that could be the mind game that maybe not won him, but gave him a chance in this game. Because Hunter Ace had to have a very hard read on that being the third skill on Malfurion in order to have a chance here.
Yeah.
And because of that, Samuro and Brukan are within range of Varden's skill 1 and skill 2. However, they both have moves that can move before both of those. So Valera can delay Varden by using the Muddy Footing. He can send Samuro at Rag just so, Cold Snap one less target to go for.
Yeah.
And because Brukan will heal itself up by virtue of playing a nature spell, it just gets out of Cold Snap range already.
Still not.
He's going for the heal again, okay.
Is this an achievement?
It's a task, TJ.
Oh, sorry. Is this
heal 900 health on all your mercs or something?
Well, the task would be beat Hunter Ace with all your starting mercs still alive.
Ooh. I would never complete that task. Please balance it.
Oh, didn't complete it. Oh no.
Yeah.
Move died, but
go again.
Just trying to get the value out of the Samuro before it was dying.
Well, and Diablo come down for Valera now, very clean. That's good stuff. Hunter Ace has to win with the unlikely combination of a bear, a Fire Lord, an Arcanist, and a cookie. Sorry, I'm not sure if Varden are canonically an Arcanist or if that's just in constructed when you finish their quest.
I don't even know what an Arcanist is. I don't even know if it's an official term. Alright, well...
I guess it's like an arcane spell user, right?
I guess. Mage casters of various capable of arcane magic. Okay, yeah, whatever. It is an official term, you're correct. But, that aside, China takes 3-0 sweep over Europe in that second Mercenaries best of 5. And we'll take the #1 seed for the round robin here at the Global Invitational.
Very impressive stuff. They look so dominant at the end there. The first series was very close. Tice, I think, managing to pull off a very impressive win with a non-standard opener. And Hunter is also pulling off a win with a non-standard opener in those two games. And that's what I was saying is the skill of EU teams specifically in Mercenaries, right? When they have full information of what the last deck is, they can adjust accordingly and create these kind of situations and patterns that their opponents have likely not tested against or not as extensively as versus the standard openers. And maybe that kind of rattled China a bit in the first series, but none of that really happened in the second series. And from all of those standard handouts, I think Valera and Windfish played some very, very clean mercs. Just, we love to see it.
Yeah, paving the way for the future of competitive Mercenaries, which I think has shown a lot of promise over the past few days, especially in this type of environment, right? Obviously, the resubmit, maybe not ideal, but having an opportunity to be able to test with every Mercenary being unlocked and fully maxed, I'm sure since you got to experience it, it led to some crazy prep days leading up to it,
Oh yeah.
but was I'm sure very cool to try and figure out what was going to be a top level strategy.
Even though APAC as a whole ended up dropping down in 4th place and we do not get to play tomorrow, I'm very happy with the showing we had in Mercs, in Constructed, and in BGs as well. I think our team had some very, very hard workers, and for Mercs in particular, I can only speak to Mercs in terms of preparation, right? I think that prep was a big thing with the lineups going in. We didn't know there would be a resubmission, so it ended up benefiting the other teams too in the end, honestly. But I mean, I think that we have proven in Mercs that if you put the work in, you can really get big advantages. And also, if you're willing to think creatively, like Team EU, with your openers, you can also get a huge advantage. Just very cool stuff. And I can't wait to see who's going to take it all tomorrow. Because China are in the 1st seed, they will be waiting for either America's or EU Mercs teams to face them there. And same with Constructed and Battlegrounds.
Yeah, it's the benefit of being that 1st seed. You do get that bye, a little bit of extra rest, maybe a little bit of extra prep for some of the players going into the matches tomorrow, and just guaranteed that you're going to be in the top 2, whereas getting 2nd seed is almost the same as getting the 3rd seed in a lot of scenarios. So should be pretty cool. It should be a great day as we head into our last day tomorrow. But Gio, we have reached the conclusion of our round robin phase for the Hearthstone Global Invitational and the conclusion of our broadcast. So thanks so much for covering for Raven and stepping in. It was awesome to hear your insights on the game from a high level competitor, to put me and Raven to shame for trying to cast this game. So thank you for that.
No problem. You definitely put me to shame if I had to like cast Constructed or BGs right now. I've not played since Diablo came out in BGs, and I've not played the mini set at all. I'm gonna have to work double time for the Masters Tour next week.
Yeah, which I'm not even casting. It's the only Masters Tour that I'm taking off this year. So, but it's been a lot of Quest Shaman shenanigans over in the Constructed portion, so it's been fun. But
that's bread and butter for me, at least.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool with the new multicaster. But we are done for the day. We will return tomorrow. I'm not going to even try to do the time zone conversion, so I'm just going to say that it's going to be around the same time in the same place for the final day. So thanks to the production crew for making everything possible, and all the other casters for casting throughout the day. And thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for more of the Hearthstone Global Invitational.